Well, welcome, brothers. Joel and I want to welcome you to this journey through me and white supremacy. We're both very pleased that you've chosen to sign up for this. I want to give you a bit of background as to why this has come forward at this point. As we are further looking at the work within Illuman involving addressing transformation of an organization that's primarily made of white men, not entirely, but a majority. We believe that it's really crucial for Illumin men to include a look at racial self-reflection and reckoning as part of what that transformation means and the inner work that makes a difference in the world. So in that light, I had gone through this book, Me and White Supremacy, as has Joel, with our own groups locally. And we both feel that it would be a very valuable journey for you, and we're pleased that you signed up. Joel, do you want to add anything?
Thank you, Glenn. And I too am appreciative of those of you who are interested in working through the book. I'm actually going to hold it up and show you my copy right here. This book has been used in the Liberty and Justice course that's put together by some Illumin men. And I did a much more thorough reading and engagement with the book myself a year ago during the season of Lent while living at Richmond Hill in Richmond, Virginia, a place where there's intentional work being done around racial healing. And this was one of the best resources that I've experienced and found to help people who look like me, white people, to do the important work of reflecting on their own life and their own participation in white supremacy and learning some terminology and reflecting on experiences in our lives, and then beginning to think sort of, what do I do now and how do I make a difference in the communities I'm a part of? And of course, as Glenn just said, we're hoping that this will have a positive influence on our Illumin community.
A couple of thoughts about how to approach this book. I went through it also and found that despite the fact that I thought I already was well versed in understanding racism and my own progressive relationship to the work, I was really quite surprised by the depth that this took me into myself and how powerful that is. I don't know of any other tool at this point that really focuses inwardly like this. And so I just really want to really confirm how valuable this is and how challenging it is and difficult it is. And so we are creating from the signups groups right now that include 5 men each. And we try to create them according to time zones for easier scheduling. And there's in the back of the book is a recommendation by the author to use a particular way of conducting the circles, and it's called the Circle Way. And it is valuable in that it creates a shared ownership of the space. There's no hierarchy of leadership, and it really rotates among the members of the group. It's somewhat like council, but not exactly. And because the author recommended it, and she wrote the book, and we're really listening to her, we both too are recommending that you use it. I know I used it in my local group, and Joel, I believe you did too.
Yeah, we did it at Richmond Hill as well. And we were meeting virtually during that time. It was part of during the time of the pandemic. And even though we were local we were able to get on, take turns facilitating or leading, really. Well, that's probably the wrong language for the circle way. We shared leadership together. All of us were participating in the circle the way we do with council. And we found her guidelines in the back of the book to be adequately helpful in just getting us organized.
Yeah, great. We're going to leave it up to each of the groups to determine your schedule, because that will be something only the 5 of you can figure out. There are 28 separate exercises, separate days in the book, and each one has its own set of journal prompts at the end. And so, for example, you can determine how many of those days you want to tackle for each session. If you did 3 days per session, that would give you about, well, you'd have to have 3 some days for a couple of, you could do it in 8 sessions, which would be a couple of months on a weekly basis. But there's a whole variety of how you can do it. I know, Joel, you did it much more intensely over a 6-week period. So we'll let you determine that. But each day should be really given your full attention and your full journal commitment. And you will share these publicly in the group. That's part of the power of it. Joel, anything you have to add to that?
Yeah. Well, I just was going to say, just in terms of the form, incredibly useful was taking time to journal and reflect on what I had just read, but also in terms of what that meant for me personally and where I'd experienced this, or what I was learning from what I was reading. And that kind of engagement is one of the ways that we do our inner work. And I honestly, in my own life, the race work that I've been a part of has been the most profound and profoundly transformational inner work that I've engaged with, because it really has caused me to take a deeper look at myself and my own biases and my own behavior and my own complicity, in my own lack of understanding, lack of awareness. This has really made me much more aware of the issues of race in our country, and in ways that I can address that myself personally. So again, as Glenn said, it's organized with daily readings, but she also organized those with by week. So there are 4 weeks of readings too, and she kind of stops at the end of each week. That might be another way that you want to organize your time together, is to say, we'll commit to reading a week and then getting together and reflecting on that and sharing. So the time of sharing and actually being vulnerable with somebody else, I also found to be really significant and important in the work of going through the book. So.
And just one final thing I'm thinking of is that there is a workbook that she created that has basically the collection of the journal prompts. But I actually created a Word document that has every day and every journal prompt on it that you can type onto, so that you don't really have to purchase the workbook if you don't choose to. And I'll send that out to everybody. It's a Word document you can write your journal responses on. And also, if you have any questions along the way, please contact one of us and we can hopefully help you work through any problems that come up.
And I know we would love to hear from you. Once you've gone through this, if there are thoughts you have or things you want to share or ideas for how to widen the circle in Illuman and get some other men involved in working through the book, please let us know. Glenn is planning to put something in the drumbeat soon so that more men can hear about the opportunity. And it's work that she even says that you're not done when you get through the book. Really, this is a book that you can continue to work on the rest of your life. And I know that I continue to refer to it and will continue to refer to it. And it'll be wonderful to have a group of men to talk to about it. So I'm glad you guys are getting involved. Glenn, I'd like to read one short piece that's really in the introduction of the book, but it in many ways summarizes, I think, the experience and what she's offering here. It says, this book is a one-of-a-kind personal anti-racism tool structured to help people with white privilege understand and take ownership of their participation in the oppressive system of white supremacy. It is designed to help them take responsibility for dismantling the way that that system manifests, both within themselves and within their communities. So that's our hope, and that's our work.
Thanks, John. And thank you, brothers.